Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the strangest new action comedies to hit Amazon Prime, Playdate 2025. It's a movie that starts out looking like a lighthearted family comedy starring Kevin James. But within 30 minutes, it turns into a wild mix of buddy action, sci-fi cloning, and emotional father-son drama that nobody saw coming. It's part Daddy's Home, part Reacher, and part Spy Kids on caffeine. So buckle up, grab your juice boxes, and let's break down Playdate, from beginning to end. Our story begins with Brian Jennings, played by Kevin James, a middle-aged suburban dad who's just trying to hold his life together. Brian is not exactly the hero type. He's a forensics accountant, meaning he crunches numbers and investigates company finances. And even that, he's not great at. His boss's son fires him for refusing to manipulate the books, leaving Brian jobless overnight. Now, most movies would turn that into a deep emotional crisis, but not Playdate. Brian's wife, Emily, played by Chalke, immediately saves the day. She just steps back into her old law firm job, smiling like everything's fine. Problem solved. Except now Brian's stuck at home as a stay-at-home dad, trying to bond with his stepson, Lucas. Lucas is a bright, sensitive kid, but he's also the target of bullies at school. Why? Because he'd rather dance than play sports. He posts dance clips on a parody app called TikTok, and his classmates mock him for it. Brian tries to be supportive, but he's insecure. He worries he's not a good enough dad, and he doesn't really know how to connect with a kid who's so different from him. That's when their lives change, all thanks to one very strange playdate. At the park one day, while Brian awkwardly tosses a football with Lucas, they meet another father-son duo, Jeff and CJ. Jeff is basically the human embodiment of testosterone. Ripped, loud, and ridiculously cheerful. He throws footballs like missiles, wrestles his son like it's a WWE match, and introduces himself like they're best friends already. Compared to Jeff, Brian looks like he wandered out of a dad bod convention. Jeff invites Brian and Lucas over for a playdate, and Brian, being too polite and maybe too desperate for adult company, agrees. At first, it's fun. Jeff and CJ seem odd but harmless. Jeff brags about his time as a U.S. soldier and now works as a security guard. But soon, Brian starts noticing weird things, like how Jeff doesn't even know what CJ's name stands for. And when strange armed men start following them, that's when Brian realizes something's very wrong. It turns out CJ isn't Jeff's biological son at all. He's a clone. Yes, a literal clone of Jeff. His name, CJ, stands for Clone of Jeff. Here's what happened. Jeff used to work as a security guard at a top-secret military facility run by a mad scientist named Dr. Simon Maddox, Alan Tudyk. Behind the scenes, Maddox was creating a clone army designed for a corrupt colonel named Kurtz. Kurtz wanted to build the perfect soldier, one who could fight, never tire, never question orders, and, most importantly, feel no empathy. He secretly collected Jeff's DNA samples under the guise of drug testing, and from them, he created hundreds of clones, all emotionless, unstoppable versions of Jeff. But CJ was the first, the prototype. And something about him was different. He had emotions. He cared. When Jeff found out what was happening, he broke CJ out of the lab, and that's how the two ended up living on the run, pretending to be father and son. Now, the facility's mercenaries are after them, and poor Brian and Lucas are caught in the middle of a full-blown sci-fi chase. After a series of ridiculous, over-the-top action scenes, because of course there are, the four, Jeff, CJ, Brian, and Lucas, end up fleeing across town. There's car chases, shootouts, and even a stop at Jeff's estranged father's house played by Stephen Root. Jeff begs him to take care of the kids, But his dad refuses, claiming he's done with family. This hurts Jeff deeply. He spent his life wanting to be the kind of dad he never had. That's why his bond with CJ, even though CJ is technically his clone, feels so important to him. Meanwhile, Brian gets nervous. He wants to protect Lucas and get back to his normal life. So when the bad guys threaten his wife, Brian panics and betrays Jeff's location. The mercenaries capture CJ, and Jeff is left broken, furious and heartbroken at Brian's cowardice. But guilt hits Brian hard. He knows he messed up, and when he learns what CJ really means to Jeff, he decides to make things right. Jeff and Brian reunite and decide to rescue CJ from Colonel Kurtz's facility, a massive underground lab filled with hundreds of Jeff clones. The sequence plays out like a chaotic, half-serious, half-parody action finale. Dozens of identical Jeffs charge through hallways, while explosions go off left and right. Inside the lab, Kurtz orders CJ to kill Jeff as a final loyalty test. But CJ refuses. Despite being made to be emotionless, his time with Jeff, Brian, and Lucas taught him something the scientists couldn't program: empathy. Instead of shooting Jeff, CJ turns his gun on Maddox and the soldiers. Together, father and clone fight back-to-back, taking down Kurtz's army in a surprisingly heartfelt sequence. Just when things seem calm, Kurtz tries to escape, but Brian crashes a car straight into the facility, causing a massive explosion that wipes out the clones and the lab. It's ridiculous, it's over the top, but it's also oddly emotional. After the explosion, Jeff and CJ survive, barely. They show up at Brian's house at 2 a.m., looking battered but alive. Their own place completely burned down. So naturally, they ask if they can sleep over. Brian, now a changed man, just laughs and lets them in. The movie ends with all four, Brian, Emily, Lucas, Jeff, and CJ, having breakfast together, like one big, messy, unconventional family. It's a fitting end for a story that's equal parts absurd and unexpectedly sweet. Underneath all the chaos, Playdate is about something surprisingly wholesome: family, empathy, and what it means to be a good dad. Brian starts off insecure and unsure if he can connect with Lucas. Jeff begins as a macho lone wolf who thinks feelings are weakness. But by the end, both learn that being a father isn't about strength or control. It's about love, patience, and connection. Lucas and CJ, two kids from totally different worlds, mirror that message. One is bullied for being too soft. The other was literally designed to have no heart. Yet both of them grow because the men in their lives finally step up to be the fathers they needed. Sure, Playdate is silly, uneven, and at times straight up bonkers, but it also has moments of real heart buried beneath the nonsense. And if there's one clear takeaway from this movie, it's this: Alan Ritchson needs more comedies. The man steals every single scene with effortless charisma and comic timing. Kevin James, he's fine, reliable if predictable. But Ritchson, he's the reason Playdate is even remotely watchable. So that's the full story of Playdate 2025. A movie that starts with soccer moms and ends with cloning labs, explosions, and heartfelt hugs. It's absurd, yes, but it's also weirdly fun and proof that sometimes, even in the dumbest comedies, you can find a little heart. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more movie explanations and reviews every week. Until next time.